The Day of Reckoning Boxing PPV event went down on Saturday in Saudi Arabia, and the card featured two of the heavyweight division's biggest names in Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fighting in separate fights. However, it was not a good day for one of those fighters, so let's have a recap, and we're going to do it with contributing boxing writer and editor for DAZN News, my guy Mark Lelinwalla, who joins me now. Mark, happy holidays. How's it going, man?
Happy holidays, Dexter. Thanks for having me on. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Always a pleasure to have you on and good to talk some boxing at this time of year. Mark, we got to start with Deontay Wilder, who suffered his third loss in 4 fights as he was upset by Joseph Parker on Saturday. How shocked were you by the result, and what went wrong for the 38-year-old Wilder against Parker?
I was surprised. Even after a 14-month layoff, I thought he was going to let his hands go more. And, you know, that right hand is everything with Deontay Wilder. And we've seen him, you know, unload and land it, detonate it at various stages of his past fights. But he himself said that he didn't let his hands go enough. His timing was off. And then he fought a guy in Joseph Parker who was very prepared. I think the training and whatever advice he got from Tyson Fury helped. And that overhand looping right was on point the whole fight. And that gave Wilder a lot of problems, especially in that 8th round where, you know, he could have been stopped. There could have been a stoppage in that 8th round. So I just think he hit something just wasn't right. And with that style, it's been very successful to him, for him, you know, as a knockout artist, heavy-handed puncher, but he couldn't find his mark on Saturday night.
Yeah, he was not able to find it. You said in the 8th round, got in a lot of trouble there, and it was really tough for him to overcome. I want to talk to you about Anthony Joshua because, on the other hand, he had a very successful day of reckoning as he had arguably his most impressive win of the year, 5th round stoppage of Otto Wallin. Is Joshua back on top of his game with how aggressive he looked on Saturday?
I think so. He looked like a complete force, you know, and he looked better than the Robert Helenius fight where a lot of critics felt like he took too long to dispose of him. In this fight, he asserted his jab. His jab turned into piecing together combinations with that left hook. And he got rid of a good fighter in Otto Wallin pretty quickly. So I do think he's on top of his game, and that aggression that you spoke about really showed it on Saturday night big time.
Yeah, it definitely showed up. I was definitely impressed with how aggressive he came out in this one. But, Mark, here's the thing, right? Had Wilder and Joshua both won their latest fights, we were all but guaranteed the long-awaited fight between the two heavyweights in March of 2024. Do you think that fight should or will still happen?
You know, I'm not opposed to it. I think fans will want to see it. AJ himself, he kind of put it out to the crowd in Riyadh, asking them if they'd like to see it after his fight. Here's the thing. I mean, if Fury and Usyk turns into a rematch for whatever reason, they're going to be engaged and busy, and that could leave an opening for Joshua to fight Filip Hrgović early in 2024. And if Deontay Wilder bounces back against an opponent of his own, then that fight would make sense, especially if Fury and Usyk are busy and tied up. So, you know, it would be exciting as long as Deontay Wilder bounces back. I think it would be a great fight.
Yeah, could still be a great fight that people want to see, and we'll be intrigued to see how Wilder bounces back. If he bounces back, he was asked about retirement. He said he is not retiring, so we definitely know that. We'll see what happens in 2024. But before we go and we wrap up 2023, let's take a look back at the sport of boxing in this year. In your eyes, who's the fighter of the year for 2023?
Great question. You know, even though he fought one fight, right, and ideally I'd like to see a fighter of the year have more than one, I would have to give it to Terence Crawford. The way he handled Errol Spence, previously undefeated, was absolutely amazing. You know, that fight, I was reeling from it and his performance months after. Now, even talking to you about it right now, it was an absolutely amazing performance. You know, he had three knockdowns that he served, produced in that fight, and he just dominated a really, really good boxer in Errol Spence. So I would have to give it to him. But I would say that Naoya Inoue has something to say about that later this week before the year closes, before 2023 closes. He has something to say about it because, like Terrence Crawford, he could end this year with back-to-back undisputed reigns. He did it in bantamweight. He could do it super bantamweight, and that would be an amazing feat. So he'll have something to say about that later this week.
Yeah, historic fight coming up for Inoue, who's had a fantastic year as well, too. Terrence Crawford, you and I, we previewed that fight, and that was a dominant performance. I think dominant in a way that neither of us expected it to be, even though we know the talent of Terrence Bud Crawford. But a good year for boxing once again. That is Mark Lelinwalla, contributing writer and editor for DAZN. Mark, always good to talk some boxing with you. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. We'll talk soon.
Likewise, Dexter. Always good to talk to you. Happy holidays to you and yours, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.